This program is designed and produced by the community with the support of Cogeco TV.
Hi, it's Mayor Sendzik, and welcome to another episode of Our Home with Mayor Sendzik. And as we've head out of March and we're heading into April, I think there's a spring in everyone's step. There's so much to do in April in St. Catharines, Niagara, from our parks to our ravines and trails. I hope you're getting out there and enjoying all that we have to offer. It's a beautiful time in our community. Or come down and explore our downtown with the First Ontario Performing Arts Centre and the Meridian Centre and all the new businesses that are opening. And soon enough, we'll be on the patios, or I'll be seeing you on the patios. You'll be heading down to Lakeside Park, or you'll be going to Sunset Beach, maybe playing a bit of volleyball. We'll see. So hope we are having a good spring. And today's show is featuring the JCs. And the JCs are a local youth organization, young professional organization in our community, been around for a long time. We have Crispin Bottomley, who is the current National Vice President of Junior Chamber International, otherwise known as JCI, and he's also a past president of the JCs in St. Catharines. And he'll be joined with Steve Boese, who is a JCI member, to discuss the JCs and what they do in our community. And it's important because they celebrated a significant milestone recently, and what was it, 90 years in the community?
80 years completed in the community.
80 years in the community, and that's an important milestone because I think a lot of folks don't see the length of a lot of these, what I'll call service organizations, and the contributions that they make to a community. Crispin is also a graduate of Brock University. Way to go Badgers go, and attended high school at Governor Simcoe Secondary School. Redcoats, 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 Redcoats all the way. Now, you are younger than I am.
I am.
So I wasn't there when you were there, but it's great to see Redcoats on the show.
It's great.
He is joined by Steve Boese, who is the manager of Generator at One, powered by Innovate Niagara. And this is really critical to where we're going as a community in terms of our business side. It's a full-service, interactive digital media incubator and production facility that houses world-class talent, technology, and expertise. It's right in our downtown. Steve is active at the local, provincial, and national levels of interactive digital media and serves as the National Advisory Board member for Canadian Digital Media Network. And it's important, from Steve's perspective in terms of his contributions to where we're going as a community, because this incubation program is all about taking the next generation of where business is going and providing them with the supports that are helpful to ensure that a lot of local companies are incubated here in Niagara, and we'll touch on that in a bit. But we have two great young professionals in our community that are also giving back in important ways. So Crispin, I want to start with you, because you've been involved in JCs for a long time now, and as a past president and now at the national level. Tell us a bit about the JCs. I think the public is interested in what you're working on.
Well, JCI was founded in 1916 in St. Louis, and it began just as a junior chamber of commerce. Here in St. Catharines, about 20 years later, in 1936, a group of young business people got together and wanted to form their own junior chamber of commerce. As more and more Canadians joined the American counterparts, it became known as JCI International. Today we're in over 100 countries and 5,000 local organizations. JCI is a way that young people can be involved with other community-minded and like-minded individuals to provide positive change in their community. And by that, we look at self-improvement by running training courses on how to improve yourself in business, in community, in running meetings, running budgets. And then you can take those skills and put them into practice through projects. And you can also put them into your skill set at work.
And so what would a project be that someone at home may be looking and going, what is it the JCs do in the community?
So some of the different projects we're involved in could be seasonally represented. So one of the projects that are happening in April is our Easter egg hunt.
There you go.
So the Easter egg hunt gives people an opportunity to first form a committee, work in a committee structure, decide what is going to happen that day at JC Park, our namesake park on Ontario Street. And then you'll go through the process of inviting the dignitaries, working on getting community support, donations, so that we can provide the children of St. Catharines with a great experience, as well as helping out with our community partners, community care, doing an important food drive, and raising cash for them at that time. So you're working with your colleagues, with your contemporaries, and we're providing a good experience for the people to get out and enjoy the great garden city that we have.
So in April, it's going to be, and I believe it's the Saturday of Easter long weekend?
Yes.
And who's these dignitaries you speak of that you invite?
Well, we're very fortunate that Mayor Sendzik's been able to come out and be able to scatter the eggs for the children and point out where the best places in JC Park is to.
We try to scatter them as equally as possible, but sometimes some of the dignitaries get lazy. Not me. Some of them may just put them in a corner and just leave them there. We don't encourage that. No. But it is a great event. It's been going on for a number of years now.
This will be our 40th year.
40th year of the Easter egg hunt.
Easter egg hunt.
JC Park, and it's a great cause, raises important opportunities and funds for community care. So I want to thank you for doing that. And Steve, there's an event that happens in the fall. And I wonder if you would regale us with what that event is.
You're quite familiar with that event, and that's the Mayor's Grape Stomp. If you want to chime in with your
No, you just tell us how it went this year.
It went very well. Mayor Sendzik now is the two-time returning champion.
Yeah.
I want to stress returning because I want to address something here that I've heard some rumors that you were thinking about hanging things up. But I do want you to know that we're not going to let you off the hook. It is the Mayor's Grape Stomp, and the mayor needs to be there. I think it might even be in your contract that we slipped in there at some point. But looking forward to next year's stomp as well. So that's in about its 44th year now with Mayor's Grape Stomp, and it kicks off the Grape and Wine Weekend in St. Catharines.
And it's not just about stomping the grapes. What does it raise awareness for?
Yeah, it's been great. A couple years ago, we took that project and adapted it further into the community, and we decided to raise funds and donations for the community organizations in the respective cities represented by the mayors that are participating in the stomp. So in St. Catharines, donations go to community care. Port Colborne, for example, would go to Port Care, and each of the mayors raise those food donations, and they get, based upon those donations, we've developed a very complex algorithm that determines how much food you've raised goes into how much pre-stomped juice you get to attribute to your total.
And what I enjoy is it is a very much public event, and you've created an event that raises awareness about poverty in our community and the need for food security, and at the same time supporting the local grape industry and shining a light on the grape growers who are an important part of our agricultural community. So from the Easter egg hunt to the grape stomp, these are some of the events that the JCs have taken a leadership role, and it's done by young people. You're volunteering your time. It's not like you're getting paid to do these kind of important events. And I guess, Crispin, so take us to the national level. So you see a lot of the success of JCs in St. Catharines. What does it mean being at the national level in your executive position?
So for the national level, JCI and the JCs have an idea of 1 year to lead. You take the opportunity to learn skills, and you can move forward if you so choose to move forward, or move back into a membership perspective. The advantages of being a local organization is we can have immediate impact in our community, but being a regional and national and international organization, we get to learn the best practices, what are going on. There are many successful chapters from coast to coast out in British Columbia. We were able to meet with members in Quebec City when they hosted the World Conference just last fall, where we had about 3,000 people come from all over the world just to share ideas, what are happening in their community, and the practices that we're doing in St. Catharines, sharing those so that ideas going on can be brought forward.
So give me an example of what was one example you could see globally in another part of the world that the JCs are doing What can you give us an example of something that you might want to see here?
So an example that happens, it was brought up first in Lithuania. They started with a clean up the streets, and they said, why don't we work more and let's see if we can clean up the city. From the Clean Up the City initiative, it's now gone on to a project which will take place with an effort to clean up the world. So all local organizations will be working together on one particular day of the year, that'll happen in September, to clean up the world as part of a JCI World Initiative. And that just started at a local organization and has moved forward into the greater community, championed by JCI International.
That's amazing. And so she really shows you the breadth of the organization, how large they are in scope, but how much of an impact they can have locally. And so there's folks sitting at home and they're looking at their sons and daughters and they're saying, how do you get involved? And they want to get involved in this type of organization. What do they have to do to become a JCI?
Well, the first thing they should do is to come out to some of our events, see what it is that we are, sort of do a trial of those different events. And you can find our information on both our website, jci.ca, as well as through our social media channels. But we do physically meet at the Best Western on the first Tuesday of every month at 7 o'clock to go over the association business. And with that, then you can be involved on projects. And the way our system works is we have a monthly meeting, but then we have project meetings, and we run our events and have some socials that get a chance to interact with the community.
So do I have to be a young professional? And because I think that's some of this misnomer of young professional. I'm a carpenter. Can I be a JCI?
Yes, of course. So the JCI idea is for young, active citizens. And to be active in your community is to see that you want to make a positive contribution to the community, and that's what we're looking for. So it could be people involved in the trades, people in the arts, people in business, and we'll take the best skills that you bring to us. And it's with those multiple different backgrounds that we can make the best impact for the largest amount of people in our community.
And I really think that's been an evolution of the JCI movement here in St. Catharines and around the world, is that it's gone beyond the young professional term into being young citizens looking for engagement in the community and doing it in a way that builds leadership skills. So that's an important part of JCs, is giving young people the tools and the confidence that they can move forward in their career, move forward from a social enterprise perspective, and within their own networks, and be peer leaders. And that's why I think that there's a lot to be said for JCI in St. Catharines and the movement that you're part of. And so after the break, we're going to talk about something unique that the JCIs are working on, which maybe just like the Clean Up the World campaign can be taken to the national level and moved beyond our borders around the world. So after the break, we're going to be talking about a unique perspective that JCI is bringing to the community, and something that I think you're going to be seeing a lot of over the next 12 months. So stay tuned. Hi, and welcome back to Our Home with Mayor Sendzik. And we're here with Crispin Bottomley and Steve Boese, both from JCI in St. Catharines. And they are a young professional and youth engagement organization. So it's a youth engagement organization that is about giving the next generation of folks in our community the leadership tools to be strong community activists, to be leaders in their business and leaders in their community. And so it's an important organization that's been around for over 80 years, and they're embarking on a very unique project that you're going to see a lot of, and you probably already have seen through Niagara this week. And so Steve has been a catalyst for this project that is part of JCI, and we met at the end of 2016, and we talked about the JCs, and we talked about what they were doing in the community. And we also learned more about the Compassionate City Project that we've been working on at the city of St. Catharines. And where did the idea come from? So give us a bit of a background of what you're embarking on, the journey that you're embarking on with the JCs, and how that connects to the Compassionate City Project that a lot of folks are working on at the city.
Sure. It really happened organically, kind of from the initial conception phase all the way to implementation. And I was at your State of the City address, your first State of the City address 2 years ago, and heard you speak about the Compassionate City Initiative. And it was fairly new at that point. I know Tim Arnold from Southridge, kind of the originator of this idea, brought that to you, and it was kind of a stay tuned. And it was something that just piqued my interest. I wanted to learn more about what that is, what a compassionate city would look like. And I decided to take it upon myself to learn some more. So through an opportunity with JCI St. Catharines, we brought Tim Arnold out to speak to our chapter, learned a lot more about the project, and it started to make a little bit more sense. We're active citizens in the community already, but it's not just about that. It goes and it's broken down a lot more granularly than that. It's about those everyday things that you can do in the community, amongst the community, to make it more in a compassionate and inclusive space. So from there, I met with you, started thinking about a way to bring this as a grassroots initiative, not top down.
Right.
Here's what you should do from a political perspective, but more, let's adopt this as a community. JCI is a perfect example to be able to do that for people who are already active. And let's look at a way that we can make a lasting impact, a shift in the culture of the community. And it was important not to just do that in a one-day event or some sort of like challenge that would be hot for a couple months and then kind of lose its meaningfulness and impact, but something to roll out over an entire year. So what we did was we selected 12 ambassadors with large social media profiles, and we used them as a gateway into the community for them to be able to take a weekend in their respective months, 12 months throughout the year, to be able to shed light and give visual examples of what it means to live in a compassionate way within the community.
So I think, and it's a wonderful idea and a way of reaching a new audience. But tell us your story about how you sort of the light switch went on, about how you can make a small difference, and making a small difference can lead to a bigger change in someone's life, and that's part of the care plus action of a compassionate city. Sure,
I think that's a great point as well. As defining what that means, and it really is that compassion equals care plus action. It's taking that moment, that one brief moment, to think compassionately before you act, and not just to think compassionately, but to also act on it. And my story that kind of was that light bulb moment to really want to bring this forward. I was out for breakfast one morning with my girlfriend, and we were at a busy place. It was a Sunday morning, and there weren't any tables available. And one of the waitresses was cleaning off a table, so we asked if we could have that table. She said sure. As we were waiting for it, another elderly woman came in to sit at the table, and the waitress notified her that that table had already been claimed. And she proceeded to then leave the restaurant as there were no more tables. And at that moment, we reached out to her to stop her and invited her to sit at our table with us. And it turned out to be a great breakfast. We sat, we told stories. She was a widow, so she didn't have any real family to be able to connect with here. She had children, but they were outside of the city. And it was just a meaningful breakfast for her. And it was a very small gesture, but went a long way. She actually found out where my girlfriend worked and brought a card and brought that to her to tell her how much that meant to her for us including her. And it was just such a simple thing that we could do, that anybody could do on a daily basis, of bringing somebody who maybe needed somebody to talk to and brought them in and included them.
And so how has that influenced what you're seeing now through the JCI Compassionate City Project? How has that influenced what you see the ambassadors and what you envision over the next number of months?
I think it's really important that the project itself isn't about the ambassadors. The ambassadors, again, are that gateway into the community, because they have those large social profiles that they can shed a lot of light and bring a voice to people who may not have a voice. And so far we've had 2 months. We're into our third month of the project. And we have seen, the one thing that I'd probably say the most proud of that I've seen so far is that it's been those organic stories that have come out of the project, that it's raised enough awareness and enough consciousness that people now are adopting that hashtag, starting to use it more to tell their stories. And that's really what we wanted to see, is that community involvement and that inclusivity through the project to bring forth the community's ideas.
So Crispin, what does this project mean to you as a executive on both the local but the national? What do you plan to do with it?
The program, when Steve brought it to me to present, is something that is something that our membership can get behind, and whether it be their friends, their families, their networks, it's just a way that we can show our part in the community. Something that was said to me is that we don't run out of compassion. So there's a way that you can just go out and be compassionate the way you are. It's very easy to be compassionate with your close circle of friends, to help somebody out, to give a pledge, things like this. It's not necessarily a monetary contribution. It can be a time contribution, but it can also just be showing in the moment that you're compassionate, that you're smiling, that you're helping people out, and you're also finding out how you can do more for people. And by having us as a group that can lead that and bring others in, we're able to help raise awareness and make St. Catharines more compassionate.
So I'm going to go back to Steve in terms of the first 2 months so January, February, we had a young professional, Jessica Potts, and also someone interesting that took part in it. So tell us a bit about what you learned from Jessica Potts and her Compassionate City journey, and then tell us who the second one was.
Sure. So I think Jessica did a fantastic job. She was kind of our guinea pig to put in as that first ambassador. And the one thing I think she did a fantastic job at was, it wasn't just about the story that she has and that her network has. She really involved the community, as I said before, and she brought forth stories and encouraged other people through her platform to share their stories of compassion in the community. That was followed up in February. We brought the Ice Dogs on board, as they have such a large presence in our community, and actually selected Bones to be that representative. That strategically was to, Bones has a large following and with children, and we thought this was a way that we could get the awareness of children to start to think that way. And I think that's really important for the future generations moving forward, that they see somebody who they have fun with and they look up to doing some really cool, compassionate things in the community, and start to think, hey, I could do those things as well.
So what were some of the things that Bones did?
Bones was out. He did some really nice things, as far as he visited the hospital. I think we've all been in those moments of grief or despair where something very small, genuine, can make a difference, and that might just be Bones visiting a sick child in the hospital. And that's what he did, which was fantastic. He was all over the place. Yeah. If you followed that weekend, we tracked it through social media tracking, and there was 1.5 million impressions throughout that weekend.
So that's for the public. That's impressive. And I think through both Jessica and when Jessica Potts and Bones, there was one moment, especially during one of the weekends at the end of the tail end, I think, of Jessica's, where it was trending in Canada.
Yeah. Correct.
Compassionate City STC was trending, and so folks who may not be overly familiar with social media, that means that topic is generating a lot of conversation, and that's important to this project because it's showing how you can use your different networks and channels on social media to really highlight what people are talking about. Mm-hmm.
I think it falls back to that consciousness and awareness fosters change, and that's what we really want to see here.
Right.
At the end of this, we're going to have monthly examples, so 12 examples of how leaders in the community can come forward, give a voice to the community, and hopefully that can be adopted as a best practice by other communities, whether it's a Compassionate City initiative or something else that's important to their community, to look as a case study or a best practice, to be able to say, this is how you implement it. It doesn't necessarily have to be a top-down approach. Have it grassroots from the community and look over the entire period of a year of how this can help change the culture and the fabric.
Well, what a catalyst opportunity, because you've got Crispin now. Just think of the opportunity that's in front of us. You've got these young folks in our community, these activists that are engaged. Steve, you're one of them that is taking on this role to do the care plus action. And now you've got Crispin, who is at the national level of JCs, which can actually take this model and say, here's what a community called St. Catharines did. How can JCs across the country do this? And how can JCs across the world? Just think about creating a compassionate world and what that would look like. We can clean up our streets, we can clean up our communities, we can clean up the world. And at the same time, we can grow a compassionate world through this initiative. So that's really exciting. And I think it's organic because the JCs have been doing this for over 80 years. The people who have been the leaders of JCs have given back through community care. They've given back through the Easter egg hunt. They've given back through participating in quietly Jillian's Place. You can name a whole bunch of organizations that have benefited from the JCs, and it's that generosity of spirit, but it's also the actively working to do something, and that's the care and action side of it. So it is truly important and significant what you're doing, and I want to thank you, Steve, for taking that leadership role. Crispin, again, how do people get more information on JCI?
So JCI, we're available jcistcatharines.ca and through our different social media platforms. You can learn more about the Compassionate City Project through compassionatestc.ca as well. That will be featuring each of our ambassadors and their stories, and that will become that case study that we can then port out to other communities.
So you'll see it on Facebook, you'll see it on Twitter, you'll see it on Instagram. I want to thank the JCI St. Catharines. I want to thank Crispin and Steve for the great work that you're doing on this project, on the Compassionate City Project. It means so much to our community, and the impact it's having will be felt not just for the months in which it's taking place, but for years to come. And we look forward to sharing more of those stories. And I encourage you, folks at home, if you're on social media, check out the hashtag Compassionate City STC, and you'll start to see the threads of what we're talking about. We do have a website, Compassionate City STC. If you go to the website, you also have information about those in our community or resources in our community that can help. It is an important project. It's something that we're all proud to be a part of. So stay involved, get involved, learn more about it. And until next time, care plus action equals compassion. So lead a compassionate life in whatever way you can and help to make our community an even better community and a more compassionate community than it is today. So until next time, have a great day.